2024 5 o'clock City Council special meeting. I will call the meeting to order and ask Nicole to take roll call, please.
Bodie,
Here.
Carberry Montgomery,
Here.
Rosendahl,
Here.
McBurney,
Here.
and Kroll is absent.
Okay, thank you. Ask for a motion, second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
By
Second.
McBurney, second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Item 3 is public hearing to consider the proposed property tax levy for fiscal year 24-25. This is the special meeting that has been required under the new law from 2024, House File 718. And ask for a motion to open this public, I note that the public notice for this was published in the March 15, 2024. Let's see, in the Des Moines Register. Ask for any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
And ask for them for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Rosendahl, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Again, the process tonight will be, I'm going to have our finance director, Nikki Lamb, outline the proposed budget. I know we have a few folks here in the audience tonight. This is a public hearing, so we will give you the opportunity to come up to speak regarding the public hearing if you'd like. So with that, Nikki, we'll have you kick it off.
All right, Mayor, members of the council.
Oh, no. Sorry about that. I see I left off a V in my levy presentation, so I guess I get to go home today. Tonight, we're going to talk about, this is the proposed tax levy. This is the replacement for previous years. It's been the max rate levy hearing. So the hearing process is not different. It's just called something slightly different. But the reason we're all here today is because of this fun letter that every taxpayer in the state received. Bear with me because we did not design this. It's not very clear. And we have done our best to just walk through some of the questions. My staff, AJ, lots of people have received calls on this and just trying to explain it. People just want to understand what is this telling them or what's it supposed to tell them. So I thought I would just walk through a couple of quick background to explain why we're all here, and then some of the things that might help the audience explain what's this telling you as well. The House File 718, which is what the mayor referenced, that passed last year in the 2023 legislative session. The highlights, it's a very encompassing bill, but the highlights as it affects this process, it placed limits on our property tax revenue growth. So the cities saw a 6.39% growth, but over 6%, we got a 3% haircut on that growth. So that was all running through the general levy. So we had to change our general levy from $8.10 down to $7.86. That is our new maximum general levy. But effectively what that did is just shift the buckets, right? So we shifted from the general levy into the other available levies. So our total tax doesn't go down. And in fact, we're actually requesting 7 cents additional for the next year. But that's the result on the levy piece of House File 718. The new direct mailing, which is what this document was for everyone, the hearing process is not new, but a direct mailing to every taxpayer's house is new. So it was quite unexpected, I think, by most taxpayers because they didn't really advertise it a whole lot before it actually hit everybody's mailbox. There is a nice explanation for it, and we've posted that to our website, which I'll go through next. But effectively, we had, as a city and a school district and a county, all the big players in the taxing levy authority had to have all of our rates into the county by March 5th so that they could go through and do a mailing to every household or every taxpayer by March 20th. So that's what hit everybody's mailbox. The only 3 entities, though, that were required to be included are the city, the county, and the school district. So we all know that there's lots more other small groups, the county assessor, the local hospital, community college, sanitary sewer districts. All of these little entities make up between 3 and 10% of your tax bill, but they were not required to be included. So the point of the letter was to tell you, here's the 3 big players and here's the hearings on this, what we're having tonight. So I had to tell you the who, the what, the when, what their rate was supposed to be, and when you could go listen in on the public hearing. So while it's not everybody, it does usually represent 80 to 95% of your tax bill, and then just said when our hearings are for each one. So whoops, I just threw it on the floor. But the public hearing couldn't be before March 25th. Thank you. So the mailing went out on the 20th. That was set in the legislation, and so we could not, by law, have it before March 25th. So that's what this April 2nd date is. We gave an additional week to make sure all the taxpayers could actually receive the letter and be able to digest that information. So what we did in response to the questions that we'd been getting, this is on our website. So we posted this last week and just kind of have been accumulating all the questions that we've been getting. I was going to pop out to the other to show you where it's at. So it's right on the front page. The FAQs are right here. And effectively, everything that I have had a question on, I tried to put it in layman's terms of how would you explain that to somebody that doesn't do this every day. Even the Department of Management did put out a 4-page instruction, which is linked right up here. I'd encourage you to go look at it, but it's still not quite English. To somebody who doesn't have a basic background in finance on the municipal side, it's still a little hard to understand. So I pulled it a step back from that and tried to really go through what are we doing here. The biggest one has been why am I getting a tax bill? It's not a tax bill. It's just trying to tell you when the hearings are to establish the taxes for next year. So that was one of the main things. And then I divided it out into what's the front supposed to tell you, what are these grids supposed to tell you, what does the back part try to tell you. They don't even mention rollback, which is a huge, huge piece that is not even mentioned on the letter, but a lot of taxpayers don't understand what rollback means. And then why is it different from others? We had some saying, well, my neighbor got a different one and her rates are completely different. Well, they're in a different taxing district. The city has 6 school districts and 2 sanitary sewers and 2 different counties. All of these combine to create, we have 33 different combinations of taxes based on where you live and which districts overlap.
That's just in Urbandale?
That's just Urbandale.
Yep.
It's very unusual for us to have 6 school districts is the most, I believe, in the state, if I understand that correctly. Most have at most 2. So there's a very small number of possible combinations, plus add 2 different counties, which is unique. I think West Des Moines being in 4 counties may beat us for the number of possible combinations because of 4 counties, but school district count affects it really, really greatly. And growing school districts on top of that. So there's a lot of change in those levies. I do reference where the full budget document, because that hearing will not be until April 24th, but it's linked on here. And then the one good thing that the Department of Management did was creating this calculation tool. It's just a simple Excel spreadsheet that you can put in your actual house value, because the information on the back of the letter is a little misleading because it's using a $100,000 house, which not many people have an exactly $100,000 house, and it assumes no valuation change from year to year, which we all know didn't really happen in residential. Everyone saw between a 5% and 35% growth on their valuation. So you want to actually go see what it's going to do. And then I also included the link to the assessor's website in both Polk and Dallas so they can go find your address and look up your actual information. So that's what I've put on the website, trying to make it easier for folks to find. Oh, it's going to start all the way over. So the piece I was going to point out, so this is the biggest piece that we've had the question on, is what is this chart and why are you changing the taxes so much? So the chart that's shown this is out of the instruction. So this is not actual Urbandale numbers, but this is how the Department of Management laid it out. The numbers you need to pay attention to is determine if an entity is raising their taxes is current tax rate compared to proposed. They have this random effective tax rate in there, which is a calculation that doesn't tie to anything. It's saying if we ask for the same revenue, nothing to do with the levy, but the same revenue dollars from this year, the year we're in now, to next year, what would that equivalent into a tax rate? Which is nothing. I mean, if you weren't going to do any raises, you weren't going to do any increase in costs, exact same property tax revenue, what that would mean, which is an arbitrary number and it doesn't mean anything. So it doesn't ever, people were looking at that thinking, well, you're going from $15.11 tax rate up to $16.10. It's not. They're going from $16.99 down to $16.10 in the example shown. That's been the biggest question. So I thought I would point that out. That is also on the page. This is just to show you what that example calculator does. So when they're showing the $100,000 house, because they don't talk about rollback, and people don't quite understand that piece. So when you get your tax assessment as a homeowner, it says your assessed value. And that's really all it really says. There is a taxable value shown, but $100,000 is what supposed to represent the market rate of what your home would be worth if you were gonna sell it against comparable properties. But then the taxable is really on this rollback. The state sets that, we don't get to set that, but in this current year, it's at 54%. So a $100,000 house, I'm only actually applying our $10.01 tax to $54,000 of your house. So next year, because of all these huge increases that everybody saw on their property value, you don't pay taxes on the assessed value. Now the rollback is going to 46%. So we lost 8% of value that the government can tax you on, which is good news to a property tax owner. You're paying less taxes in theory if your valuation didn't change. But so it's effectively the rollback is trying to offset the huge increases that they trued up to market value, but they're bringing your taxable back down to a normal level. So what that means on our side is we need to raise taxes 7 cents to make up for the difference on the rollback. So this is what the sheet shows you for this is an Urbandale rate that's showing it looks like a huge decrease. So down here at the bottom where the estimated tax are, this is what you would pay right now. This is what you would pay under the current rate, and it's showing a huge decrease. But again, this is a $100,000 house to a $100,000 house. So I wanted to show you why it's important to go put your values in here. So this is the calculator assuming a 25% valuation increase from January 1 from last year to this year. So doing that is more real, I guess, from an individual property taxpayer. We don't want you to assume that you're going to have, as this previous page said, 14 to 15% reduction in each one of them. That's not accurate because your house likely changed value. So this is what that example would be. It's still super minor. I mean, it's less than $100 or around $100 worth of change, but it's important to put your own numbers in there so you know what to look for.
Nikki, so on this example here, you increased the value of the house, and then you also applied the
rollback.
the reduction in rollback.
Yeah. So that's at $125,000. So that's assuming a 25% increase, which, they were from 5 to 35% is the highest I'd heard. So I just picked number to show a big increase. So it's still 54% in the first year, and it's still 46%
So
rollback.
it, $3,000 versus $5,000 was your actual increase when you took the rollback, right? Of taxable value.
Taxable value.
Yeah, on taxable, it went from 46 to 57, yes. So it's just trying to show the point of please go use the tool to actually pull in your own values so you can have an accurate representation of what it's meaning. So for the items that we are actually here to have the public hearing on, the changes, as I indicated, is a 7 cent net change. This is just kind of elaborating how I talked the initial stuff with the $8.10 levy that got shifted down. So now my new max is $7.86. So we've maxed out our general levy and instead shifted them to the other buckets. So the employee benefits levy is going from 10 cents. It's actually decreasing down to just over 7 cents. Police and fire retirement, that is for the pension system for all of our public safety staff. That is now fully funded. So we've shifted from 37 cents up to 65 cents. So that item is, and that is all it can be used for. So these special levies, this is what they can be used for. So that's what the point, I believe, of the legislation was to try to get apples to apples. Use these other levies that are supposed to be used for those items, and they're going to force us to take it out of the general levy. So previously, we had put most of it in general levy because you don't have to access these other levies until you run out of money on the main levy. So that's what these are doing. So it's just kind of a shuffle around between the net of those. It's a net increase of 2 cents on the non-debt service levy. So the ups and the downs end up being 2 cents. Debt service, that was approved in the capital improvements program as the 5 cents to account for all the inflation on our large capital projects coming up. I just actually kind of talked through all of these. The 5 cents on the debt service levy is related to the capital improvements program. That was approved back in January of '24. And that's the project cost inflation that everybody's seeing through the market. And then that net 2 cent increase. And a city is not uncommon for all cities. We're a service provider, so our main cost is people. So the cost of people is more than half of our budget. The fiscal 25 budget that we will have the hearing on January 24th includes 7 new positions. And then we have 3 approved union contracts that are multi-year contracts, all of which are over the 3% growth that I was allowed. So that is where that additional is coming in as well. That's all I have for my overview, and we can turn it over, and I'm here for questions as we go through the public.
All
hearing
right.
if we need.
Thank you, Nikki. Before we get to any comments from the public, are there any questions from the council for Nikki before we get started?
Well, I just really appreciate you speaking English in this today's presentation and with the public. I also wanted to point out on Saturday, Representative Forbes said that it had cost $100,000 from Polk County to do this mailing. So that's a lot of money.
It's, I was on a call with the League of Cities with Senator Dawson today, who's the chief architect of this bill, along with the House. But he did indicate that I think they realize that this mailing has maybe had some limited beneficial effect, and that may be looked at in future years as far as whether it would continue. But it was a compromise to get the bill passed last year. So that if that's any indication, we'll see. So, but we are where we are today, and again, we do have some folks from the public here tonight. So thank you for being here. First of all, to pay attention to where we are and to possibly provide comments. So this is a public hearing. So what I'll do is I will, if you want to speak, please just raise your hand. I'll recognize you at that time. If you can come up to the dais and give your name and address for the record. And we do have a 5-minute period for you to provide that. If you provide comments to the council, if you have any questions as part of that, again, I'll provide Nikki here to try to answer any questions that you might have after that. So we'll try to answer any questions. And certainly after this, if you want to sit down, we've done this with a number of folks already. If you want to have somebody sit down with you and walk through where you are in your individual circumstance, we're happy to do that at a later time as well. So with that, is there anyone like to address the council on this? Okay, sir, if you can please come up and give your name and address.
My name is Mike Struck. I live on Wilden Circle in Urbandale. Been here for 23 years and appreciate you guys doing what you do. I know I have 5 minutes, so I'll get down to business. The first thing is, the first half of this page shows we have reduction in taxes, and the other side of the page shows we have a tax increase. So and I do have a college degree, but I'll tell you what I just heard, I need an accounting degree to get through. I am very disappointed that we spent $100,000 on something that one side says you got a tax increase, the other side says you don't, which is why I'm here tonight, because you touched in your discussion that we have an increase in value on our property across the board. Most people had it in Polk County, which means normally you pay more in taxes. So then we also passed the school tax increase capability because we care about our kids. But at the same time, we're getting inundated with confusion that is kind of tied to this because we don't know what's going on. And I'd like to make a recommendation, and that is to simplify the tax process, because the whole thing looks to me like you have to have an accounting degree in order to get through it, and sending out $100,000 worth of these to people who many don't have a college education. It's a concern because this is really kind of complex, and it doesn't talk about the rollback. So what I'd like to clarify what you just said, when it comes to Urbandale taxes this next year, is it going up or is it going down?
The next year, 7 cents up.
7%,
The levy is going up.
Levy is going up 7 cents.
the levy is, and that's after rollback.
That's what it's applied to, yes.
Okay, so we'll see.
Mike, if you could just please address the council, then we'll get your questions answered. But if you could face us and address, make your.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just trying to go to the accountant.
Well, I understand.
So where are we at from a tax perspective next year so we know? Because this really doesn't help.
Well, again, so to back up, and this form that everybody got is mandated by Iowa law. It's mandated by the Iowa legislature and the governor. It is not mandated by the city by any means.
Yeah, we
could-
know,
no,
and I know. So
Okay, no, I
that's
just-
not,
but just
this
let me-
is nothing on you, guys.
No, but just to clarify, just so everybody's clear, this form is the same form that every jurisdiction had to send out. We could not vary one iota from that. And that's why it is confusing. And I appreciate your points, but it is confusing. But the point is that we could not vary from it. Cities are very frustrated because it does not fully explain the story. And but it's what we had to do and it's what the counties had to send out. And so if there's a problem with that, I suggest, please reach out to your legislators to tell them this is confusing and this doesn't help. With that said, again, each circumstance is different, Mike, and we're certainly happy to sit down. We can either provide the tool so you can plug in your own numbers, or we can sit down and go through the numbers with you to show you how your specific circumstance will be affected.
And I don't care about my specific circumstance, frankly. I don't. But I do care about all my neighbors and everybody else that's in Urbandale. And I'm not putting this on you guys. I'm putting it on the government, and you're part of it. Sorry. It's just by design. You're a piece of it, and you're the piece that has to hear from us when it doesn't make any sense. So I'm not blaming you on the $100,000 wasted. Kind of outlined that in here. Somebody saw that it was $100,000 wasted, and they let us know. But the fact is, the document is confusing, and it doesn't tell the story on what our taxes are going to be, which, being public servants, one of the things that's important from my perspective, that you guys fight for us to the folks that would do something like this, that to make it, because you're the one that gets all the crap, because nobody can really get into the Capitol to talk to your
I spent an
legislators.
hour just today doing that for you, so, okay?
I was there last week.
Okay.
So, and I did get to talk to Brad, by the way. But the fact is, it's hours of waiting and so on and so forth. It's very, very difficult. And calling the switchboard, it doesn't help. So that's why I'm asking my representatives from a city perspective to help do something about it. Because I'm a big advocate right now of simplifying the tax process, because if this is supposed to show everybody what it's really going on, and all it's gonna do is what it did to me. Tax increase on one side of the page, tax decrease on the other. Doesn't make sense. I don't know if anybody else is in that same boat. If you are, raise your hand, because that's the frustration that I had on it.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd come down just to see, and I'm looking at an increase, which I expected. Prices have gone up, everything's gone up, so I'm not surprised about that. That's okay. I'd like to know how much it is, but it's not that important. What's important is that in the future, we can do something about this. I would rather see Urbandale, through the Urbandale magazine, put a page together to say, this is how it's really going to impact you.
And that's
And-
why that's why when Nikki walked through on what we put out on our website as far as doing that.
And that'd be great. People read the Urbandale magazine. It's local, and it would be much more helpful than what this was.
Yep.
And I would advocate also that you go and tell the representatives who you guys deal with, since I have talked to you guys instead of those guys, to stop this madness or change it so it's specific. I can't tell on this what the Urbandale is. I think one of them is Urbandale Schools and one of them City. Doesn't say that. Doesn't
Right.
say which is which.
Right, right.
You can get that on film. Guys, it's just very frustrating. It makes no sense.
Well,
That's all I got.
We feel your pain, and I can guarantee you that all of us up here did advocate last year significantly to not do this, because we knew that it would result in mass confusion and unnecessary expenditures of time and money. So, we're continuing to push that out to our, state representatives, but as many times as they can hear it from their representatives or their constituents, yes, the better too. So we're doing it, and I'd encourage everybody else to continue to do it. So, but thank you.
Animal House. Thank you, sir. I have another.
Yes.
Remember.
Mayor Andwig, I'd just like to point out real quick that 3 of the 4 legislators within that represent Urbandale live in Urbandale, and none of them are here tonight, so. And they're not in session either right now, so.
They're not. Thank you, Larry. Would anyone else like to address the council? Yes, sir. Please come up and give your name and address.
This will be rather brief. My name is Ed Woodall. I live here in Urbandale. And I wanted to tell you tonight that I'm very concerned about your proposed tax increases. Those of us who live on fixed incomes don't see increases, and we have to try to do the best we can. I know it's the county assessor who places a value on my property, but it's you who makes the budget and determines the amount of money that you will take from me in the form of taxes. Inflation has deprived most of us of our discretionary spending power and has affected the way we live. The city needs to consolidate this budget and keep the current budget at the rate of property taxation. I strongly oppose the tax increase. Please take another look at your budget, and I'm sure that you're capable of governing well and will do well. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? I was asking if there was anybody else, but thank you for your comments. Yes, please. If you could just come up to the podium and just give your name and address, and if you have questions, we'll take them and we'll try to get them answered for you.
Okay. My name is Paige Gomer. I'm also a resident of Urbandale, and I just am looking for clarification. So the state passed legislation to lower property taxes, and then now it looks like all the cities are kind of just undoing that by all of these increases. Is that kind of the bottom line of what's happening here? I mean,
Well, not exactly. Nikki, if you want to try to, the state has put some restrictions on it, but it's also more how the levies are conducted.
Correct. So House File 718 changed the general fund levy, and they forced a reduction in there to cap general fund levy. So that did reduce, but they didn't get rid of the other one, so it's forcing it into another bucket. So it was redistribution, which is a message that was made clear when the legislation went through, is this will not lower property taxes. It changes one levy, but it allows us to move them to the other available levies. So politically, yes, it did lower the taxes on one type, but it didn't change the others. So it just shifts the bucket, so the total tax stays the same.
okay.
They did eliminate 17 or 18 other levies that historically have not been used. They've been on the books for centuries, it feels like, very specific ones. So they did take away a ton of levies and consolidate those, but those were all added in. So that's not the piece that the specific reduction is truly the general fund levy. So now it's called the consolidated general fund levy.
And maybe this isn't a question for you guys, that why would they do that? What was the?
Good question. Yeah. A good question. And again, it's, I think it's frankly a political move to try to say that they're trying to rein in property taxes when all we're doing, let me just back up a little bit. I've been involved in city budgets for a lot of years now, so 20 plus years. This is, I think, my 25th city budget process I've worked through between being on the council and being mayor, and AJ and staff has gone through a lot. every year, we work in an endeavor. I hear what you're saying. Nobody likes to pay property taxes. I'm a taxpayer. I don't like to pay property taxes. I look what I pay every year in our house, and it is breathtaking, and I truly appreciate that. And it's not like we're exempt, but it does cost a certain amount to provide the services that our residents demand and expect. And those costs go up every year. And I can tell you, our staff spends tremendous amounts of time every year going through and whittling the budget and making sure that we are spending the exact amount we should be spending. We work tirelessly throughout the year to work on intergovernmental relations with other cities so that we can collaborate and save dimes and nickels and dollars and thousands of dollars and millions of dollars for both of our cities. I mean, Clive is a perfect example of what we've done to collaborate to do that. We're always looking for ways to collaborate. We're always looking for ways that we can save our taxpayers dollars because that's what we should be doing. So I don't want the impression that we just say, okay, we're going to rubber stamp this budget. Please, that's not how we operate. That's not why we're here. That's not why I'm here. That's not why anybody else in this dais is here. We're here to represent you, our constituents, in the best way possible to provide the city services that you expect at the price is a fair price. But the bottom line is things are going up and it does cost a certain amount to provide that. And the way the system is in Iowa, the property tax system in Iowa is the primary source for a city to have revenue to provide for those city services. So, it's also an easy way to attack cities for saying cities are profligate and spending a lot of money. We spend a lot of money, but those services cost a lot of money. And to provide support for particularly for our fire and EMS and police, those costs are rising tremendously. We are constantly being challenged to provide good salaries for those folks because those folks are being challenged to go to other places or to get out of the public safety sector altogether. So it's a challenge, folks. But just rest assured, I wanted to say we do our best every day to keep that number as low as possible so we are paying the least amount of tax possible.
Okay, so are you saying that you said that the way Iowa cities cover their costs is a lot through property taxes, and that's why Iowa property taxes are so high? Because they are ridiculous. I mean, my parents live on a really nice acreage in a very nice neighborhood in Colorado, and their property taxes are about a third of mine.
Yeah.
And they're getting all the same things that I'm getting.
Right.
And I'm like, why?
Right. So every system is different. And there are a lot of studies out there. I've looked at a lot of studies, but you have to look at the total tax burden. There can be sales taxes. There can be other taxes that come in. Some cities are funded through the state process or through state income tax. In Iowa, about 75%, 70% of our budget is through property tax. And that's just the way it is. Other cities are different, and depending if they're a tourism state, they can drive a lot of revenue that way as well. So you're right. Other states pay a lot less in property taxes, but they have to raise the money somehow, and it's getting paid somehow. It just depends on what those sources of revenues are for that particular state.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and thought on this
All right.
question, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jay Rizada. I live in Urbandale. I just want to know in plain English. Last time I paid property tax $200 less. And they said your property is increased, but the tax has gone down by $200. Now what will happen? Will they go up again? The tax, property tax?
Well, again, we could sit down, our staff could sit down with your particular property and run through that with you to show you exactly how that would affect. There are a lot of factors that go into it, as Nikki went through with her outline. It's a very complicated system with the residential rollback that is applied and the different taxing jurisdictions. And again, the city portion of your bill is only about 25% in Urbandale. So other jurisdictions have an effect on that as well. The county, as Nikki said, the county and the school district are also the major players on your tax bill, but we're only a portion of that tax bill as well. So I can't tell you right offhand exactly what's going to happen in your specific circumstance, but we can certainly sit down and go through that with you.
And as the gentleman said before, it's kind of confusing. I thought maybe it's going to go down more.
Well, if you would read that letter, that's literally, it does show that it's going down, but it's probably not going to be going down, but hopefully it's not going up by much either, so. Okay, all right, thank you. I think that's everybody from the public, so unless any of our staff want to speak, we do have some taxpayers in their staff.
Curtis, you got anything?
With that, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Please vote. That passes. Nikki, do you have anything further?
I was just going to reiterate that myself or my staff are happy to assist with any of that. It's actually pretty straightforward once you actually have the tool available. And we're obviously pretty adept at being able to look up properties pretty quickly, so we can sure assist with that. I can get cards for anybody that needs that, and my number and our finance office are on the website listed. So happy to help with that, or anybody that's logging in remotely or watching it later, that
Yeah.
we're happy to help. We want people to have a full understanding and be transparent about what's happening.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thanks for the time spent on doing that. With that, then,
You just have the one resolution.
yes, we have a motion for the resolution 119, 2024.
Yeah, motion to approve resolution 119-2024.
Motion by McBurney,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Any further discussion? Please vote. That passes. All right, again, thank you to each of you for being here today. We appreciate your comments, and we truly appreciate your input, and I understand, as I said, I will just want to reiterate, and I think I could share everybody's sentiments on that. We all are taxpayers in this community as well, and we share your concerns about costs rising and everything else. And so we do our absolute best, and we will continue to do our best. I will certainly continue to do my best. I know everybody else here as well, as long as we're sitting here at this dais. So thank you, everybody, for participating. And with that, we are adjourned.